Hello, today I'll be ranking the 311 discography. I'll be going from worst to best. Keep in mind that's just my opinion, but let me know your ranking in the comment section below. I'd definitely be interested in seeing how you'd rank the discography. But anyways, I reviewed Voyager on my channel, so make sure to check out that review after this video. I also did a CD unboxing for Voyager, so if you're interested in what the physical copy looks like, make sure to check it out after this video. But anyways, let's go ahead and get started. At the bottom, I decided to go with Universal Pulse. It's just the album that I go back to the least, which is why it's at the bottom, but it's an okay album. But again, it's just the album that I go back to the least. But my favorites on the album are probably Sunset in July and Rock On. Next, we have Uplifter. It's another okay album. Hey You and Golden Sunlight are probably my favorites on the album, but it's just another album for me that kind of lacks replay value, and I just don't think the album compares to other albums that are in their discography. Next, we have Don't Tread on Me, and this album actually grew on me recently, but even though that's the case, I still think it's one of their weakest albums overall. But some of my favorites are Don't Tread on Me, Solar Flare, Think You're Lucky Stars, Frolic Room, and It's Getting Okay Now. But you also have some of their weaker material like Waiting and maybe Long for the Flowers. But I do like this album, but there's not much way around it. It's one of their weakest albums overall. Next we have Stereolithic. I liked it when I first became a fan, and I still like many songs from this album today. Now, there are a few songs that have kind of fallen off for me, for the most part, such as The Call, and The Great Divide, and Boom Shanka, and maybe a few others, but there are still many songs that I still enjoy, such as Ebb and Flow, Five of Everything, which is one of my favorite 311 songs of the modern era, and Showdown, Sand Dollars, Simple True, which I think is kind of underrated, and of course Tranquility. But I still like this album, but I just don't think this album compares to other albums in their discography. But anyways, let's move on to Voyager. I was kind of in debate with this one. I wasn't sure if I wanted to put this above Stereolithic or have Stereolithic be above this album, but there are many songs from this album that are still continuing to get better with each listen, such as Crossfire and Charged Up, Dream State, and a few others, but some of my favorites are Crossfire, Stainless, and Rolling Through. But I'm really digging this album so far. But anyways, let's go ahead and move on to the next album, Mosaic. I think it's their best since Evolver, which might be an unpopular opinion, I don't know, but I really dig this album. Some of my favorites are Wildfire, The Night is Young, Too Late, and Days of 88. But, of course, we have to talk about Till the City's on Fire. I don't think it's as bad as some people make it out to be, but it's still not one of the best songs on the album, but I just think the song is kind of decent, though. I think it does kind of have some catchiness to it here and there throughout the song, but it is still one of the weakest songs I've ever done, even though it's still decent in my opinion. But let's go ahead and move on to Evolver. This album is insanely underrated in my opinion. I love this album. Some of my favorites are Other Side of Things, which I think is kind of an underrated song, along with Crack the Code and Still Dreaming. Beyond the Gray Sky, I think is probably a classic 311 song. Then you have the song Creatures, which is one of my all-time favorite 311 songs. It's just one of those songs that always just gets you pumped every time you listen to it, and it kind of just puts a smile on your face, and it's just fun to listen to. And I even convinced someone recently to react to this song too. But anyways, Evolver, definitely a great album. Next we have Music. What hasn't been said about this album already? There's still many classics, or there's still many songs that I consider classics, like Freak Out, My Stony Baby, and Do You Right, and those are also some of my favorites on the album too. Welcome and Plain are also some of my favorites on the album too, but you also have some underrated songs on here too, such as Visit and Plain, but yeah, I like this album. It still holds up for me today. Next we have Sound System. I might get some flack for the placement of this album in my ranking, but that still doesn't change the fact that I still really dig this album. Some of my favorites are Freeze Time, which I think is kind of an underrated song, Come Original, Large in the Margin, Strong All Along. Then you have the upbeat, catchy song at the end, Livin' and Rockin', which I think is kind of an underrated album closer, but I really like Sound System. And you also have some underrated moments like Eons and Mindspin. Next we have From Chaos. Now, I already know what's coming. I know I'm probably going to get flagged for putting this album above Sound System and Music, but I really like this album. And either this album or the Blue album was my first 311 album, so that might be a part of why it's higher in my ranking, but I really like this album. Some of my favorites are You Wouldn't Believe, Full Ride, the title track, Champagne, Amber, but Uncalm is another song that I find underrated in their discography. I really like that song, and I really like Essay's vocals in that song too, but I love this album. Next we have Grassroots. For a while it wasn't one of my personal favorites, but it's grown to be one of my favorites now, and some of my favorites are Homebrew, Nut Symptom, which I think is kind of underrated. I really like the bass work from Peanut in that song. You also have 816, which I also really enjoy, and how down to earth it is. It's just one of those songs that's just nice to relax to. But you also have some other songs that I enjoy, like Grassroots, aka the title track, and then you have the song 123, which I think is one of 311's most underrated songs. I really like that song. Sure, it's maybe not super complicated or anything, but I really dig it though. I like both Nick and Essay's vocals in that song too, but Grassroots is definitely a great album. Next we have the Blue album, which, I mean, it was a big album for them, and again, I think either this album or From Chaos, which was my first 311 album, but some of my favorites some of my favorites are Down, Jack-o'-lantern's Weather, All Mixed Up, and the criminally underrated Misdirected Hostility. I love that song. That's maybe one of my favorite 311 songs. I really dig it. I just really like the guitar and the tone of the guitar too, but yeah, I really dig this album. And it still overall holds up for me today. And at the top, I have Transistor. I love this album. They got a little bit more experimental on this album. You got 21 tracks, and they never made anything like this album ever again. And even the stuff before this album sounded nothing like this one. But some of my favorites are, of course, the title track, Prisoner, which I think is kind of an underrated single. I also really like Galaxy. There are a good number of underrated songs on this album, like Galaxy, Electricity, Jupiter, Rub-a-Dub, Strangers, Borders, you name them. There are many underrated songs on this album, but I don't know, man. This is maybe one of my favorite 90s albums, along with like Korn's debut, or what else? Soundgarden's Bad Motorfinger. I can go on and on about that, but this is my all-time favorite 311 album. But anyways, let me know your ranking in the comment section below. Let me know your thoughts on my ranking if you want. Let me know some of your favorite or least favorite songs from their discography and all that good stuff. But anyways, thanks for watching. Please leave a comment and a like, subscribe. Have a nice day and take care.